Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So, we're going to start with our past as we normally do. Sherry Ann, do you want to go first today?
Oh, I was going to have you go first, but I'll go. Okay. So, physically 4.2, emotionally 4.25, spirit 4.4, hope 4.5, and my word is fun.
Okay. Physically, I'm a 4.2. Emotionally, I'm a 4.4. Spiritually, I'm a 4.6. It's different for me. Hope is a 4.25, and my word is completion.
Hmm, okay.
Okay, so our topic today, a little bit of a heavy one, but we're going to go right into it. And it's when friends disappear, especially when you're on a cancer journey. And it doesn't have to just be friends, right? Sometimes it is family. Um, and sometimes it just happens along the way, for many different reasons, but it has an impact, and it's just something we want to talk about.
And it's something that we don't imagine is going to happen, especially when I say we. So I'm standing in the patient role right now, and it's like, oh, I'm going through this traumatic thing. Okay, my support system's going to be there. My people are going to be there, and this is across the board. I've talked to obviously so many patients, and it's like they go, "What happened to so and so? What happened to?" that person who I thought was really going to be my rock, and they start taking it on. So
Hmm.
it's not just family and friends, it's anyone that you feel like really strongly connected to, and it's just incredible surprise when all of a sudden they're not there, especially people that you wanted to lean on or count on, and it happens.
Yeah.
It's not an anomaly. It's not like, oh, this one time this person disappeared. It's almost inevitable that somebody that you thought was going to be there wasn't.
Hmm.
And I'm saying that because it's so nice to be kind of prepared, not that you're expecting people to disappear, but knowing that this is a really intense time, and cancer has a lot of charge to it. So when somebody hears the word cancer, you think we go, as the patient at diagnosis time, go immediately to death. So do they. Or any kind of connection or memory or belief they have about cancer,
Hmm.
and they can't handle it, not to be there for us. So they need, for preservation of themselves, it feels like,
Hmm.
to just kind of step back.
Yeah, it's a really unexpected shift for people. And I think this is also why we focus so much, or we talk about so much, how there isn't enough of a focus on caregivers, because we're in a society and culture that's kind of an avoidance of things. And so when we do hear that there's cancer around, sometimes it's like an automatic shift. It's not even like a conscious thing that people are choosing. They're not like, whoa, it's cancer. I can't be a part of this. It's triggering for me. I have trauma around this. And it's not like a conscious recognition of like, wow, that person like might be dead and I just want to cancel them out of my life now so I don't have to think about it. It's really this just like inclination towards that, and like we don't really know how we'll react until that happens, as with anything. But you can't really anticipate how anyone's going to react, especially if you're the one going through cancer who just got the diagnosis. Like, it's not your responsibility, first of all, to figure out what's going on with them, because that's their own trauma to sort through, or their own experience to work through, if they choose to, and they have to be willing to do that. And some people will be all talk. They'll be like, yes, I'm gonna be there for you, I'm gonna drive you every day. They'll tell you all the things that you need to hear and that you really want to hear. But when the time comes, they can't. They literally can't show up.
Right.
And it's not something that it's not like all of a sudden they chose and were like, actually, I'm not willing to help you anymore. It's more like, now that the time has come, it's like, wow, there's something viscerally that's not allowing me to do that. And again, that is their own thing to work out. But as the patient, as the person going through it, you feel abandoned.
Yes.
Yeah, like completely abandoned by someone that you thought was really going to show up for you. And so that's really hard to relinquish that kind of control, because it is theirs to do, and it makes you feel like you did something wrong, or that cancer has now turned you into someone that they can't care for anymore, or they can't love. And it makes you really I mean, you're going to be resentful of the cancer period. There's kind of always going to be that bit there that, again, is your work to go through. But it it can make you resent your cancer more, because it affects your relationships so deeply, and people who thought that they could show up for you. And I think the most important thing in just that kind of space is just like, it's not your fault and it's not your responsibility. You're going through what you're going through, and you're going to need to take what you need to take. And honestly, you probably will not have the energy to even put up a fight to try to keep these people in your life. And it it may not even be worth it at that point, because you need to focus on yourself. And this is kind of a message, right? That something had to come up to show you who is your people and who is not, and who's going to show up for you and who's willing to be there for you. Now, I will say, it is not black and white. It is not they're there for you or they're not. It doesn't have to be that way. And even when you start to feel abandoned, it may feel a little bit that way. Um, but it's a spectrum, right? Like, we can have people who are our best friends, who are really close to us, and they stay really close to us. And those are our people. And they take us to treatments, and they do all the things that we need them to do. They make you food, they rub your head, whatever you need. And then you have friends who are kind of trickling down. Like, maybe they can take you once in a while, but they really can't let go of other things in their life to show up for you in that moment. Again, no one's fault, just what they're capable of doing. And then there's some friends who, like, maybe they'll send you a text every now and then, but they can't physically show up for you. And then there are friends who might not be able to do any of that and just need space to figure out what they need to figure out with this concept, even. So there's so many places along the way. So just because someone says no one time, and it can be quite disappointing, um, it doesn't always mean that they're completely gone. So I do want to, like, invite that spectrum. It does exist, and it's hard to find that space with people that you thought were like your besties and like super close, and we're gonna do everything for you and just like sit in bed and like rot with you for a while, and then they're gone. So they can find a place along that spectrum as well, and you can invite them to touch in as much as they can.
Yes. So much was said there. A lot that I was going to tap into too, but let me pick the ones that I want to kind of continue. So, first off, it's not your fault. As the individual who is feeling this abandonment, it's not your fault. It is their, whoever it is, it's their issue and their journey, their particular journey. So that, I mean, that is kind of a big thing I would say to someone if we were in a coaching session and they were very upset about the fact that somebody disappeared who they were counting on, or they were hoping to be there and holding their hand, as you were saying. I would start off with, you did nothing wrong. Cancer is a very big, charged situation. And like you said, it's not your responsibility, but I understand that desire to be like, what happened? How can we fix this? Because you're disappointed. You were kind of counting on this person to sit with you, hold your hand, maybe do more than that. And all of a sudden, this relationship that you thought was strong all of a sudden has changed. And how do you deal with that, where all of your energy is really focused on you? And that can feel selfish, but that is your job during the cancer journey, during your cancer experience. And their job is to take care of them, and for you not to feel like, oh, let me just take this little bit of energy that I have and let me put it over there to see if they're okay, to take care of them.
Mhm.
Now I do have to say, again, not black and white. You're not, I'm me, then all of a sudden I get sick and now focused on me. Not that easy. You're going to be whoever you are. And if there is this tendency to people please, to care for others, to really care about what other people think about you or feel about you, you're going to be triggered.
Mhm.
And that triggering is not as easy as, okay, I'm just going to let you be you.
Mhm.
So we want you to do that. We realize how hard it is to do that. And so it may be a you taking care of you by saying to that individual or sending a message or sending a letter, whatever feels comfortable for you. Like, I miss you. I'm disappointed that you're not here. I wish you could come closer. This is not an easy experience for me to do. And I'd really love to have you here with me. But if you can't, I understand, and kind of leave that door open, but it almost like absolves you of that need to like, what did I do wrong? And how can I fix this? Because there's nothing to be fixed.
Yeah.
There's two people having an experience. Even if you don't get a reply, just let yourself know I said what I needed to say in the kindest of ways that I did. And I know that takes energy too when you have very little. But it's almost like, here's this thing here. It's not mine. I'm not owning it. So let me just hand it back to you and say, there you go.
Mhm.
And you can come and, we can talk about it and fix it or not.
Right.
So that you can take back your energy and not give your power away to that situation. Take it back so that you can be with your healing and your processing. And here's what I'm going to tell you, and I know it to be true too, that you will be amazed at the other people who show up that you had no expectation or knowing that they will. People that you knew, and they kind of seem to come out of the shadows and they're like there, or people that you don't even know that just show up because they feel compelled to be of service and to help.
Yeah. I completely agree with all of that, and Miss Positivity. Um, like, that is, like, the experience in the best light. That's, like, if we could be what we think of as, like, potentially perfect and being able to put, like, pick and choose where our energy goes, right? Like, that's what we really want. And that's what we want for, anyone going through a cancer experience and experiencing that tension and that abandonment and that disappointment and that, like, anger, rage, fury over what's going on there. um that is the most ideal way to deal with it, and that's what I think anyone could hope to go that direction with. um but we also know that those emotions are there and that they're going to happen, and we can be as aware as we want, but in practice it's so hard, right? So what's really coming up for me too is that, like, a lot of this experience is mourning a friendship that you didn't know had, I'm not going to say died, but has transformed into some other sort of relationship. And so not only are you dealing with your entire cancer diagnosis and treatment and everything else that's changing your life, but you're now mourning these relationships that you thought were different, and you know yourself to still be in them, but you feel like the other person has disappeared in some sense. That is so incredibly frustrating. And this is where I like to think of the, like, emotions being held down, either like a beach ball in the water, right? Like, they'll always surface, or like a fart, or like just an explosion of energy, right? Because going through cancer treatment and diagnosis and losing your friends and potentially family members and just all of this other stuff going on, like, you're ready to explode. And, uh, you know, I'll say that friends can be the easiest target, especially if they're already feeling like they're on their way out. Like, it feels like the right person, the right time, and like they deserve it almost in that moment. I can absolutely see how that would feel true to explode on this friend and being like, you weren't there for me. You said you were going to be there for me. I can't trust you, right? And it feels like the right place to put a lot of that energy. I want to invite us to redirect it because it does seem like an easy pull, right? It seems like an easy place to go to with that anger and fury and rage. And we know deep down that that's not where you want to put that. I mean, there can be anger. You can express your frustration, but we don't want to explode on anyone. And, it's not their fault that they're responding that way. It's their journey, and maybe they don't even know that they're on that journey right now. So that's where we come in. That's where we help you find other ways to express that, and you can say it to your coach, right? Like, if I'm working with a coach and I'm the client and I'm super frustrated, my friend who wasn't showing up for me and just disappeared completely, I would be able to let a lot of that anger out just expressing it to someone who's listening and really understands what I'm going through and wants me to get all of that out. And that's a much more appropriate place to put that exploding energy. And they can also help me figure out other ways to put it because it's not a one and done, right? I'm not going to like scream at my coach as if they're my friend and then I'm going to be good to go. There's other ways to handle that experience instead of freaking out at anyone, really. It doesn't have to be your friend, it doesn't have to be a family member, your doctor, but it can be someone who is not involved, who helps you process those emotions in a much healthier way, that doesn't have any repercussions in the grand scheme of things in your life. And I think that becomes really important when we're feeling the tension of that loss, when our friends won't show up for us or our family members won't show up for us. Like, there will undoubtedly be constricting emotions, undoubtedly. And so finding the right place to put that and to really get that steam off the top so you can then be understanding, because it's not easy to lose someone, be literally in the midst of that and be like, "It's okay, it's just their journey." Like, there there's a lot more, like, energy, like, riling up behind that needs to go somewhere.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the emotions and the constricting ones. Um, because they do want to just like explode like a pot of overcooked rice like. And you're right. I mean, having a place, a safe place where you can say absolutely anything. And the receiver, in this case, the cancer journey coach who's well trained in this type of scenario, is able to hold it and take it. It's not like the punching bag. They're helping their clients like say what they need to say and then release it.
Mhm,
And I love that scenario that you were bringing up because it's real. It's true. It's like this person disappeared and I feel shitty.
mhm,
I feel horrible. I feel hurt.
mm,
I
mhm,
mean, you can go through, I mean, if you really allow yourself to feel the emotions, which is what we want you to do, and they're gonna flip really quick. It's like, I'm angry. No, now I'm sad. Now I'm back to being no, now I'm enraged. It's gonna keep moving and that's good. What I'm saying is good. It's the shifting of the emotions and letting them come and feeling them so that you can articulate them. It's like, okay, I'm feeling this one. And sometimes even just naming it will lead to another one. And as you keep checking in, it's like, and then until, oh, that pot is not no longer bubbling over. It's like, okay, we've got all the energy and agitation out, the agitated energy
mhm,
actually. And it's like, okay, so I'm returned back to myself. I'm not being reactionary because of how I'm feeling. And now, if I choose to have a conversation, which I don't have to, I'm in a calmer space. So
Mhm.
I can be a little more articulate, a little more mm, gentle or forgiving. That's a big stretch right there to go from this to forgiving, but it's like I'm more in touch with me, so I don't have to be like, "Arr!"
Right. I mean, the best example that I have is like when you cry because you're so frustrated. And so it's just like you're like shaking with frustration, then you cry, and then the tears, like you run out of tears, and you're just like, all right, what's here now? And you're just like, I'm just sad. Like,
Right.
I'm just deeply sad. And that's exactly like what you were saying. That's exactly how that feels to me too. Because then you unearth what else is underneath that and what's underneath that and what's underneath that. And like even moments of joy, right? Like you can have those moments of like, I'm sad, but also I'm appreciating all these beautiful memories we've had together. And so I'm getting to honor our friendship. And that's like something that's really like that's love for me. But even that love can then turn to like, okay, now I'm sad again because they're not here, and now that's heartbreak. You know, there's a back and forth to it, but like you said, being able to identify them is so helpful. And I just like want to reiterate how difficult losing your friends are in this, or like losing your expectation of who you thought would show up for you, and getting all of this steam off, getting this worked through, especially with a coach who is so safe. They have no stock in the matter. They are simply there to support you and your process and whatever you need. But it really does allow you to have richer relationships outside of it when you don't always have to put that on the people who are involved in your life.
Or hold it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're talking about, beach ball, fart, whatever, holding it down. I mean, I hear so many times when somebody does get to that point where they can't even hold the tears back in because it's like the tears and the release
Mm-hmm.
that they're so exhausted after. And it's not the crying that is exhausting. And they always think, oh, I don't want to cry because I'll be so tired. It's the release of holding it down for so long
Yeah.
and pushing it away and pushing it back. It's like, no, 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 I'm not going to feel that way. No, 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 I don't want that here in me. I can't face that. And yet it's going to show up anyways.
Yeah.
Again, back to the fart. It's like you can try to hold in a fart, but let me tell you, it is painful at some point, and then you just have to let go. Hopefully,
Right.
you go to a safe place, like you go to your coach and let that be released. But it's like you can't hold it in forever.
Yeah.
And that the scenario of losing somebody, a friendship or a support system or somebody so dear to you is painful. So there's loss and grief that is happening. And we think, oh no, I'm not feeling loss or grief. I should really feel that when they're really not here. And I don't know, are they going to come back? Because maybe they're just gone for a moment and they're going to come back. So you're like, I'm not going to be with loss or grieving. And then who knows, your friend might be already in loss and grieving because you've been diagnosed with cancer. So loss and grief are definitely here in the mix. Let's just feel that.
Yeah.
Let's just give ourselves permission to feel that and not wait for when it feels appropriate. Like, oh, it's really here. It's like, no, 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 that's an emotion just like all the other ones. So let's just feel it.
Yeah. Something that you're starting to touch on, and I know we're getting to the end, so it's just like a little dabble of this, but when when we hold it in, right? You can think that there are no negative ramifications, but you would be wrong. There are definitely negative ramifications to holding in. It is unhealthy, not just because you're holding all this energy, but your negative ego starts like going. Your negative ego is going to tell you some nuts things. It's going to be like, you're a bad person and that's why they were just looking for an excuse to let you go. It's going to tell you, well, they're just a bad person, or, I'm not worthy, or it's not enough work, or it's too much work, I mean. And there's so many things that your negative ego will tell you, and when you're holding it in, it'll continue to spiral. It'll tell you more and more things. And yes, you may shift between all those different emotions that have slightly different voices, but you're more likely to tell yourself things that are completely untrue just because your negative ego wants to protect you. You know, it's like, okay, you're spiraling, let's tell you whatever we want to tell you, whatever you want to make up in your head as like an excuse for what's going on. You want to make those assumptions about what's going on over there, but you don't have control over any of those things. So that's, it just adds to the mess that's going on in there. So not to just sprinkle that on at the end, but there is quite a bit of negative ramifications of like holding it in. And we also know that stress, because the cortisol, and then you just can't heal, and then all of that stuff. So it does manifest physically as well at a certain point. So really, when we don't take care of ourselves and communicate what we really need, all of it just falls apart.
So let me kind of wrap it up on my side. So the bottom line is, no, there's a couple bottom lines. What the key areas that I want to say and take away is, you didn't do anything wrong. You are not responsible for what's happening over there. And you need to feel your emotions about all of it. And I know that's not easy. And it's so much easier when you have somebody by your side who understands what you're going through, and also how to deal with this swirl and these agitations and this storm that it feels like is happening. And that is a cancer journey coach.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we provide gift sessions so people can just try this on, especially when something like this happens and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. What? And they can just simply go to our website and sign up for a gift session. We'll find your match. We'll make things happen. My Pesh is physically, I've got all the juices going, so I feel like this vibration 4.4, 4.45, emotionally 4.45, spirit 4.6, hope 4.5, and my word is bubbling.
The hand gesture was funny.
Yeah.
My takeaway. Oh, my takeaway is that this is like a very big experience to be having in the midst of a cancer journey, that we almost don't want to give it the value that it ends up having in our lives, really, like those who show up for us, because it can really feel like the difference from living a normal life to living a life with a cancer diagnosis. Like that difference is so can feel so immediate when the people change. And like you said, I think the biggest message is that it's not your fault. You did not do anything wrong. It's neither the diagnosis or people leaving or any of that is your fault at all. And your responsibility is just to take care of yourself, and find those really safe spaces, because you're a human, you have that full range, you have anger and rage, like you're gonna need to let that out somewhere. And you're gonna need to figure out what that is for you, because it's so important to not explode on the people that matter to you. No matter how close or far they choose to stay, they still matter to you, obviously, because they've lit you up in some way. Um, my Pesh. I know this conversation lights me up too, because it's like we get to see the full range of like really, really intense and in a really hard place, but also ideally like where you'd want to be to feel safe in that space. So I'm just like, I'm with you there. Physically, I'm a 4.4. Emotionally, I'm a 4.6. Spiritually, a 4.7. Hope, a 4.4. And my word is release.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
And have a lovely rest of your day. And remember, you're more powerful than you realize.